For instance, we can understand objects within the archive according to, let's say, the lineage of art history. My approach is to try and reconsider those objects according to different parameters or through the veil of a different kind of lens. My name is No Turan. I've just been invited by KYOTO Institute of Technology D-Lab to be designer in residence. And I'm currently working on a project which reconsiders the Institute's archives, taking a slightly off-centered standpoint to see if we can draw different historical understandings of the material. I found it to be very idiosyncratic, but I think all archives are. Although this one has, in some way, the luxury of being a collection that is drawn from professors and academics and educators from the Institute's history. And it's their own personal interests and what they feel is of value educationally, which has been collected. So in that regard, I find the institution's collections to be quite unique when taken as a whole. Traditionally, archives and archivists, what they tend to do well is to locate materials in their collection within prescribed areas of knowledge, and then produce public disseminations of that in the form usually of exhibitions or catalogs. So, for instance, we can understand objects within the archive according to, let's say, the lineage of art history, or we can locate them within a kind of historical moment and connect them to other circumstances or other objects or other ways of thinking from that period. My approach is to try and reconsider those objects according to different parameters or through the veil of a different kind of lens. And in this case, I'm using the folkloric tradition of ghosts or monsters within the traditions of Japanese narratives to imagine some of the objects imbued with spirit, and through that, they voice their own experiences. The archive is vast. I mean, there's, I think, 70 or 80,000 objects that are held within the museum walls. I was primarily interested in, let's say, domestic or cotidianal or everyday objects or popular objects, rather than, let's say, the sculptural or painterly materials that they have, because I'm drawing specifically from the traditions of tsukomogame, which is the method by which normal objects or tools are invested with spiritness or ghostliness or monsterliness. One of the most amazing objects that I found was a life preserver which had once been on the SS Hakone Maru, and which was later sunk in the war by American bombers. And I did some research about the boat itself, and I came across one amazing story about a famous Japanese tennis player, the captain of the Davis Cup team, who was on board and who was so concerned with how he would perform for the team that he chose to take his own life. And so I imagine that this life preserver, which somehow survived the bombing in the 40s, witnesses this tennis player jump overboard and unfortunately cannot help him himself because he's not yet embodied with the spirit. The collaboration is a central part of the production methods that I use in my practice. I'm always looking to work with people to sort of extend the materialization of what I produce. In this case, it was a great opportunity to work with not only D-Lab technicians, but also students, so that the whole process maintains a kind of educational aspect. We found some fantastic students to help me shoot a film in the archives, and we shot it with kind of B-movie aspirations. So we shot some tracking shots. We also did a very fun stop-motion sequence where all the different students had to basically animate painstakingly, frame by frame, one object within the archive. And I think it was a really successful day for everyone involved. Additionally, by sheer luck, while I've been in Kyoto, there was a once-a-year fair or market specializing in yokai illustrations. And I got to meet Hana Totori, who produces absolutely unbelievable illustrations and books of yokai, spirits. We've commissioned her to imagine some of the objects from the archive being embodied with these spirits and to illustrate them, and then we will exhibit those at the gallery space in Tokyo. Part of what I'm producing for the residency is a film that opens the archive up to the public by literally displaying almost every object in a photographic form. There was a commission in the mid-90s for a photographer to photograph literally everything. So we're talking tens of thousands of photographs. And it was done on digitally, but at the time, the quality of digital cameras was very, very low. And so notions of high definition did not exist during that period. So I was working with quite low resolution materials, and so thought that it might be a good idea to search for old monitors or monitors from the period which could display at a standard definition of very high quality those images. And so very fortunately we have here an amazing resource, Ichikawa Sensei, who had an old Sony block monitor, one of my favorite kinds of monitors anyway, that I would love to use for exhibition purposes, and we're going to show the work on that monitor.